Hi everyone, hello Year 5 and Year 6, welcome back to English Lessons Live with Mr. Phillips. You're back for your second lesson today, and today we're doing some reading. Really quickly before we start, because this might be something you need to sort out before you carry on with your lesson, hopefully you saw the little announcement that I put on the page yesterday, or you might have seen stuff today as things have been coming through. In order to best access this lesson, you could really do with a copy of the text. All right, so I've put in the description a link to the text, and you can click on it and go straight to a PDF document. But you need to have an account with lovereadingforkids.co.uk in order to be able to access it. So if you don't already have an account, pause the video, stop. Go down into the description, click on the link, follow the instructions to register an account, get your parents to do that for you, and then you will be able to see the text that we're reading off today. Now, it'll be helpful if you could read it while we're doing it. So if you have a separate device, like an iPad or something that you could log on and read it through, that would be great. You could obviously print it like I have, go old-fashioned and do it on paper. Obviously that won't be sustainable for too long. Or alternatively, you could just have us in a different tab, and you could be still listening to the video and pausing it and then swapping over to have a little look at the text, okay? If you really can't do any of those things, don't panic, because I've been picking my phone up and showing you key bits and stuff, and you guys just have to really, really listen, all right? It's also important that you have a piece of paper and something to write with, so we can do some writing down of answers and things later on. Okay, so same hashtags and Twitter handles as yesterday. Hashtag St. Anne's Live and at St. Anne's Rain Hill. Those are the things you can get me. If you do work, you can email it straight to rsa.year6@3-saints.org.uk. All the same details as yesterday. So hopefully now you've got your text and we're all ready to begin. So our reading lesson is split into 4 distinct sections, okay? And these are the sections that I've got on my whiteboard right now. We've got our predict section, we've got our clarify section, we've got our question section, and we've got our summary section. Those are our 4 parts. Now, it'd be really good if on your piece of paper, you split your paper into 4 parts. And you have one for predict, one for clarify, one for question, one for summary, just somewhere where you can write your answers and things like that, all right? So we are going to be looking at a text called Wink today. That's just the title, Wink. Now, in order for us to predict, we have to go off the evidence we've got. Now, just give you the title of Wink is not very helpful. So I'm going to give you the first paragraph, okay? Now, don't read ahead. I'm going to read this one aloud to you now. And then, using the title of Wink and the first paragraph, we're going to predict what we think this text is going to be about. Now, you guys know by now that a prediction doesn't have to be right. It's just a guess, a logical guess rooted in evidence. I've said on the other 2 videos, you don't want to be saying, oh, I think aliens come down when there's no evidence of anything like that happening, okay? So, it's called Wink. And this is the first chapter. Chapter 1's called Let's Get Radioactive. And it says, I'm lying on a steel table, all too aware of the giant ray gun pointed in my direction. It looks like one of those room-sized 5-ton laser things supervillains use in movies. The kind they threaten to destroy the planet with. What music are you into, Ross? That's all I'm going to give you. So it's called Wink, and that is the opening paragraph. What do you predict is going to happen in this text? Remember, we start our predictions off with the words, I predict that. And then we come up with a prediction based on some evidence. Now, what do we think is going on? What an unusual situation to find ourselves in. Someone is on a steel table looking at what they describe as a giant ray gun. Now, there is a simile in there. It says, it looks like one of those room-sized 5-ton laser things supervillains use in the movies. So he said, it's like that. He uses a simile to describe it's like one of those things. But if he's using a simile, it means it's not one of those things. So one thing we know for certain is it's not a supervillain's giant ray gun. Because he says it's like that, but that means it's not. Okay? And then we got this weird piece of dialogue. What music are you into, Ross? Which doesn't feel like it matches the picture particularly. So maybe this is, and the chapter's called Let's Get Radioactive. So maybe he's in a play, possibly. Maybe he's an actor on the set of a film. Maybe he is on a dentist's chair and he's over-exaggerating everything. Maybe it's a kid who's over-exaggerating stuff. That's what I'm going to go for. I predict that... that's not what the story's about. So maybe it's about a boy who's constantly having dental surgery. Well, that doesn't make sense. Why is it called Wink then? Oh, okay. Well, let's use the same idea. Maybe it's about his eye. Or maybe that's what the ray gun. Maybe he's someone who has to have surgeries on his eye. And maybe that surgery goes wrong. And that's why he's winking all the time. That's my prediction. I predict that it is about a boy who has an eye operation and it goes wrong. Perfect. Can you now pause the video and using the start I predict that, can you come up with your own prediction about what you think this book and this text is all about? And then write it in your predict section. I predict that. Pause the video and do that now for me. Okay, so now we've predicted, it's time for us to actually read the text. So hopefully you've got a text with you. If not, then you just have to listen to me. We get to listen to me anyway. You just have to watch me reading it, okay? It's a few pages, so we're going to have a little quick read of it. It's called Let's Get Radioactive, Chapter 1. I'm lying on a steel table, all too aware of the giant ray gun pointed in my direction. It looks like one of those room-sized 5-ton laser things supervillains use in movies. The kind they threaten to destroy the planet with. What music you into, Ross? I'm pretty sure the radiation tech is just trying to distract me as he bolts me down. A hard plastic mesh mask over my neck and head holds me still. They moulded it to my face yesterday. And the tech struggles to click it into the table. He scrunches his nose, pushing. Oh, anything, whatever. I mumble through my teeth. The hardened mask doesn't let my chin move. The headpiece locks in, and the tech, Frank, gives my shoulder a bump with his fist. Come on, man. If you're going to lie here for half an hour, you need some tunes. I've got all kinds. Name something you like. There are no wrong answers. I scan my brain. Can you just... KZAQ? Frank stops and doubles over at the waist like he's been gut punched. He hangs there, talking to the floor. Okay, no wrong answers but that one. He straightens up and winces at me. Seriously, you like that top 40 garbage? It's what my parents have on all the time. So dorky. I try to look away casually, but my head won't budge. Frank stares before letting out an exaggerated sigh. Fine, but tomorrow tell me what you like, not what your mum and dad like. He walks over and fiddles with a tiny old boom box on the high wall shelf next to a teetering stack of CDs and cassette tapes. Seriously, there must be a gazillion dollars worth of equipment in here and they can't afford an MP3 player. I notice a bit of tattoo peeking out from the arm of Frank's scrubs. A lizard maybe, or a tentacle. Beyonce fills the room and suddenly Frank is all business. I know we went over this yesterday, but let's review. He wraps his arm around his clipboard and begins like he's done this 1,000 times. The gurney you're on is going to lift you up and move you into place. The treatment takes 25 minutes or so. Keep your limbs and naughty bits inside the ride at all times. Do not throw things at the radiation techs. Do not feed the radiation techs. Do not waggle your legs around like a synchronized swimmer. Do not pass go. Do not hum the Goo Goo Dolls? Yeah, the Goo Goo Dolls, sorry. Do not hum the Goo Goo Dolls, as I despise the Goo Goo Dolls. Frank steps aside to let another tech, Callie, I think, reach in and mould some blue clay over the bridge of my nose. She smiles at me and tells me it's to protect my good eye from the beam. Then she pats my chest. I hope I don't look as nervous as I feel, because I feel like a rabbit in a trap. My face is hot. Okay, now for the important part. Frank is back. When I tell you, you're going to stare at the red X above you, the one we made over there by the big zapper yesterday. You'll see it when the machine slides over. The mask prevents much of a nod, but he seems to catch it. Don't move your eye off that X, or your eye will explode into a million pieces like the Death Star, okay? I let out a little grunt. Frank puts his hand on my arm. I'm kidding, Ross. I mean, kind of. Don't look away from the X. Your eye won't explode, but we're dealing with your vision. Important stuff, so keep your eye on the X, or it could... Just keep your eye on the X and it'll be fine. Kelly steps back in with a U-shaped attachment that looks like part of a kid's car seat. She fits it over my face and helps me slip the moulded mouthpiece into my mouth. My teeth lock into it when I bite down, and she snaps the end of the U to the table. Ka-clunk. The table is attached to a huge mechanical arm, like something out of Star Trek. My nose itches. I couldn't move my hand if I had to, and something about that makes me all squeamy inside. I feel like a bug on a dissecting table. Frank and Callie look down at me. You good? Callie squeezes one of my sock-covered toes. Need a blanket? No, I'm good. Okay. She tucks a lock of hair behind her ear and gives me a friendly smile. Everybody smiles a lot here, probably because they can tell I'm freaking out. We'll be right around the corner. You'll do great. Frank winks. No sweat, you'll see. They walk off to my left, but I can't turn my head to follow them. The lights dim slowly as Gwen Stefani starts singing about bananas. I'll admit it, it's a little freaky being the only one in here with all of this machinery, all this stuff. As I close my eyes and let out a long breath, it shudders as it slowly comes out, which somehow takes my nerves up another notch. All right, Frank's voice squawks. I don't know what's wrong with my reading today. All right, Frank's voice squawks through a tiny speaker. We're going to get started, Ross. Just relax and keep your eyes on the red X. You're about to go for a ride. After a few seconds of silence, there are loud bangs and revving sounds. The entire room full of heavy machinery comes to life with beeping and whirring and what might be big fans powering up. Maybe things heat up when the radiation gets going. I have no idea. Then the gurney shudders and I begin to rise. Frank comes through the speaker again. Houston, we have liftoff. And then we get a little bit of a cartoon which shows this Bat Pig character. Let's have a quick look at that. Okay. Yes, apologies for my awful reading. I think it's because you're the last lesson of the day and I'm already read out by this point. I'm just like, ugh. So, now we've read the text, we need to move on to our next section, which is to clarify some of the key vocabulary, key important vocabulary. So, I'm going to give you 3 words that I want us to try and clarify today. So, you can write these words down in your clarify section. So, the first one is going to be, let's go for ton. I like that. T-O-N, ton. Then let's go for tech. Let's go for 4 today because the vocab isn't too difficult in this text. let's go for notch. And then let's also have molded. Just like that. Okay? Perfect. Ton, tech, notch, and molded. I'm going to clarify these pieces of vocabulary. So, first of all is ton. That is on the first page. It describes it as like one of those 5-ton laser things. So what does ton mean? If you think you know, pause the video there and write next to it the definition in your clarify section. All right? So ton is a unit of measurement. It's like a kilogram or something like that, but it's a big unit of measurement. If something weighs a ton, it weighs a lot. And it can be 1 ton, 2 tons, 3 tons, but they're very, very big units of measurement. Normally measured things like, you know, cars or skips or things like that, okay? Like a big skip that you put rubbish in. So ton is a unit of measurement. Next one, tech. We hear the word tech used quite a lot. For example, in the first page it says, I'm pretty sure the radiation tech is just trying to distract me. So they keep getting linked to people. So if you think you know what tech means, pause the video, write the definition next to it, and then see if you're right. Okay? So tech is a shortened version of a word for technician. It can be, in some sentences, used as a shortened version of technology if it's referring to people, it's referring to things. But in this one, it's referring to people and the job that they're doing. These are the techies, the technicians. So in this context, tech means a technician, so a radiation technician. Next one, notch. It says that it puts his panic and his fear up a notch. So if you think you know what notch means, pause the video again, write your definition next to notch, and then come back and see if you are right. So, notch is like another level. If you're saying something going up a notch, it's going up a little unit of like an interval, okay? Up another notch, yeah? It can be like the next one along. On your belt, you've got lots of little holes. Each of those could be described as a notch, so you move it to the next notch along. Or if you're measuring height on a piece of wood, you might carve in another notch. So it's like the next one along, the next interval along. So if it's going up a notch, it's going up another level. You might say, oh, turn the volume up a notch. Okay, put it to the next one along. So that's notch. And then finally, we've got the word molded. Molded. It said it was molded to his face. Now, in some contexts, mold is like the fungus that grows on rotting food. It's not that type. Okay? So have a little go at what you think molded might mean. So, in this context, molded is to be shaped. Okay, if you mold something to something shape, it's shaped around it. So that they've molded the mask to his face, then it is being cast to the shape of that. When you get a gum shield for rugby, you sometimes have to put it in hot water and then bite onto it so it molds to your teeth. It's that kind of mold. Now I'm looking at it, I'm not sure it's got the U in it. It might be mold like that. That's how it's spelt in the text, but I can't work out if that's American or not. Mr. Phillips, know your spellings. Oh well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to squiggle that underneath, and in the comments right now, I will tell you if that is spelt right or not. Have a little look. If it's spelt right, well done. If it's not, never mind. We all make mistakes. So there you go, some clarified piece of language. You've got ton, tech, notch, and molded. So now we've predicted what we think is going to happen, we've actually read the text, and we've clarified some key vocabulary. So it's time to go to our questions. So this is the main bit. So I've got a few questions for you, which I'm going to tell you verbally, and then we're going to have a little go going through the answers. So again, after each question, pause, have a little try and see if you can figure out the answer, and then come back and see if you've got it right. Don't let the video just play through, because then you won't learn anything and you won't see if you would have got it right or not, okay? Doesn't matter if you don't get them right, it's just a little go. So, the first question is, what does the tech do? What does the technician do to show that he is struggling? How do we as the reader know that the technician is struggling? Have a little look for that answer in your text. Pause the video, see if you can find your answer, write it down. Okay? So, how do we know that the tech is struggling? Come with me and we'll have a little look at the text. Ooh, and we flip around. There we go. There's the text. We can see it here. So actually this answer is on the first page. So it says here, the tech is struggling, but really in year 5 and year 6, we want to find a piece of evidence rather than just saying, oh, it says in the text he was struggling. How do we know he was struggling? Well, here we get a little bit of evidence. He scrunches his nose and he's pushing. Now, the pushing might be something he can do without struggling. He might just need to push it into place. But if he's scrunching his nose, I mean, I'm doing it now, but you can't see because the camera's facing the other way. But if he's scrunching his nose, it might mean that he's frustrated. So he might be going, might be scrunching his nose as he's trying to push it down, okay? So we could write for that, how do we know that the tech is struggling? And we could just simply put, number 1, he is scrunching up his nose. If you're someone who put, because it said in the text he was struggling, don't panic. That's something we're going to try and get out of the habit of doing. It's like when someone says, for like a 3-mark question, tell me something, what impression do you get of this character? Oh, I think they're happy, because in the text it says they're happy. No, we don't do that, okay? We look for evidence and supporting points, okay? So that was our first little question. Number 2, how does Frank, the technician, feel about KZAG? And give 2 ways that you know. So this is a 3-mark question because there's 3 answers that we need. Number 1, how does he feel about KZAG? And give us 2 ways that you know. So you need to have 3 separate answers. How does he feel and 2 ways that you know. Pause the video, go and have a little look in your text to find that answer, that 3-marker. Okay, hopefully you've done that. Don't just sit there letting the video play. Pause it, go away, have a little go at the questions. So, let's have a little look, come back. Ooh. On the second page is where we have the reference to KZAG. So let's have a little look at that. Frank stops and doubles over at the waist like he's been gut punched. He hangs there, talking to the floor. Okay, no wrong answers, but that one. He straightens up and winces at me. Seriously, you like that top 40 garbage? Okay. So there's lots of things we could say there about how we know he feels a certain way. But the first question was, how does Frank feel about KZAG? Nice and easy. He doesn't like it. He thinks it's garbage. Yeah? You can have he doesn't like it, or you can have he thinks it's garbage, or anything along those lines. He thinks it's rubbish. He thinks it's not very good. Anything along those lines. So number 2, I'm going to go with he thinks it's garbage. Now, obviously, that's a quote from the text. So I can't say now, he thinks it's garbage. I know this because in the text he says he thinks it's garbage. Can't do that. I need 2 different pieces of evidence. So how do we know that he doesn't like it? What's one thing that he says or does? Well, let's try and do 1 do and 1 say. It doesn't matter if you've not got that, but for our example, that's what we're going to do, okay? So give 2 ways that we know. So, well, one thing, something that he does is he winces. Like he's in pain, he winces at the idea of this radio station. Another thing he does is he doubles over, which means he bends over as if he's been punched in the gut. So either of those are absolutely fine. I'm going to go for he winces. He thinks it's garbage, and then a way I know is he winces when he hears it. Or he winces when he hears the name. Ooh, when he hears the name. Now, if you've got the fact that he winces and the fact that he doubles over as both of your piece of evidence, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to look for something that he says now. So if I had written he doesn't like it, I could use he says that it's garbage as a piece of evidence. But I don't want to do that because that's what my point was. So he said, well, it says here that it's a wrong answer. He says, okay, no wrong answers but that one. So he says it's a wrong answer. That really, Ross can't say that. He says it's a wrong answer. Perfect. And there we go. That would be 3 marks. So get 1 mark for saying how he feels about it, and then 2 additional marks for both pieces of evidence that I've put forward. All right. Let's do another one. Let's do number 3. Now, in the text on page 4, maybe? Possibly page 4, who knows? Yes, page 4. Oh, well done, Mr. Phillips. On page 4, it has this quote. Ne ngu, which I said exactly like that when I read it. Why, question number 3 is, why has it been written like that? What does that mean? Why has it been written in that way? That's your question number 3. So pause the video there and have a little go at answering that question and then come back. Okay, so good, I think it is, n ingu. Why is it put like that? Why does the author use that as a quote? Well, the answer is, if we look at what happens before it, as in this is a very good question because actually the evidence isn't right next to the quote. If we look a little bit forward, what's happened before that? Nothing here that's giving us an answer. Nothing here that's giving us the answer. Here, my teeth lock into it, and when I bite down, and she snaps the end of the U to the table. So basically, his teeth and his mouth, which we know from earlier on, because he says he can't move his chin, are clamped together. So he can't really open his jaw. So that's him going, and trying to get the words out. So the answer to number 3, why is that there? What does that mean? I think it's him saying, no, I'm good, but he can't move his mouth. He can't talk properly. So I'm going to say he can't talk or move his mouth. But you can have something along those lines, or move his mouth. Lovely. Now we've got one more question to do. One more question. And it's one of my favourite types of questions. It comes up all the time. My Year 6s will be very, very familiar with it. Make sure you've seen what you need to see there and marked what you need to mark there. It is an impressions question. What impression do you get of Frank? Now, when we're doing impression questions, because they're 3 markers, we need to Pepe. Point evidence, point evidence. We need to give ourselves an adjective, what is he like, and a piece of evidence. An adjective and a piece of evidence. Let me show you one for the Year 5s who's not really done it, and then you can have a go at your own. If you're Year 6, you could be able to pause here and have a go at doing this because you are really familiar with these. So, what impression do you get of the character Frank? Year 6s, you can pause if you want. Year 5s, let's have a little look at a model. So, what adjectives could we use to describe Frank? Well, he is really, he's really kind. He's really kind. He's a bit daft, isn't he? He is thoughtful. He's a little bit maybe inappropriate at some points, or a bit silly. So let's go for a bit daft. So that's going to be my point. And then I need to find some evidence from the text to support that he's daft. So what impression do you get of Frank? I'm just going to say daft. Because. And straight away I've already got a mark. 1 mark there for giving my point. Okay? Now who can think of a quote from the text where it proves that he's daft? possibly when he says, do not feed the radiation techs. When he's giving Ross the information, he does it a little bit like it's a roller coaster ride, doesn't he? So maybe we could say daft, because in the text it says, and that's a really important quote to use just before you use something from the text. In the text, it says, and I'm going to quote directly from the text, do not feed the radiation techs, which obviously Ross isn't going to do in the situation he is. Frank is just being daft. So there, we get 1 mark for giving our point, and we get 1 mark for giving our evidence. And then what you need to do is do that again. So you think of a different adjective. Have a little of a pause there. See if you can think of your own one, or see if you can think of one to add onto mine. Okay. Hopefully year 6 is your back as well, and year 5s are together. So we've got one example already, an adjective there, daft, because in the text it says, do not feed the radiation techs. You could also have something like kind, possibly. Let's see if we can find some evidence to support the fact that he's quite kind. He lets Frank pick the music. Yeah, he makes fun of him a little bit for his choice, but he's only being silly, isn't he? He tries to calm him down by being, by being light-hearted. We could say inappropriate, because he tells Ross that his eye's going to explode into a million pieces like the Death Star if he looks away, which obviously isn't true, but maybe isn't what Ross needs to hear right at this moment when he's in the on the gurney in the operating place. So we could have something like that. So for Pepe, you need point, evidence, point, evidence. So for my example, I might put daft, because in the text it says do not feed the radiation techs, and inappropriate because in the text Frank says, I might not do a quote for this one, it might be in the text it says that Frank tells Ross his eye will explode into a million pieces if he looks away. And that would be a really good 3-marker example. So you need 2 adjectives and 2 pieces of evidence to support that. Okay, and that is all of our questions. Done 4 in total, including, well, 2 3-markers we've done, but 1 formal 3-marker question. I'll be really excited to go when you send me your work, if you send me your work, to have a look at what you've done for those 3 markers. Our very, very last thing to do is our summary, our summarising of the text. And for this one, we're just going to do something quite easy, because we've done some quite difficult questions. We're going to write a hashtag to summarise what content has been in this text. Now, some of you have done this with me in year 6. If you've not done, just have a little watch. So a hashtag is something we use on Twitter, like hashtag #SayItAsLive, to try and summarise something in very, very few words as possible. And normally it's done in quite a clever way. So how can we summarise the entirety of what we've read in a hashtag? Well, I've come up with 2 examples. My first one is lift off for Ross. Hashtag lift off for Ross. That's my first hashtag. You notice it's all one word. I capitalise each word to show you where the words start. Now, I thought this was a good one because the lifting off represents the gurney going up. There's lots of Star Trek and space references, and I've also got the character's name. And it's also him doing it. Lift off for Ross. I thought that was a really good one. And then this one, I am very, very proud of this one. I thought hashtag I am trapped. Now, what I've done for that one, I'm so pleased about that. Too pleased than I should be. So what I've done there is I've done a bit of play on words, haven't I? It's like I am trapped, as in I am trapped, because obviously he was being pinned down by all these machines. But because he was having surgery on his eye, I've done a pun. I am trapped. So hashtag I am trapped. Those are my hashtag examples. Let's see if you guys can come up with any better ones than that. When you send me your work, or if you send me your work, or maybe when you send me a picture of you doing your work, you can even put the hashtag. You can tag us at St. Anne's Live, do hashtag St. Anne's Live, but also maybe put your unique hashtag there just to summarise what we've read. Thank you so much, guys, for being here again with me today. Hope you've had a good time with this reading lesson. We managed to get through loads and loads and loads of work. Tomorrow we're going to go back to our writing. We're going to add on a little bit more, another paragraph to our zoo piece of writing. And then on Thursday, we will have another reading lesson before the weekend. Okay, guys, see you tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.